Hey guys, so I wanted to do a review on a pretty new knife to my collection, and actually a pretty new knife to the market. Um, this is a fairly new knife maker. His name is Craig Brown. He's out of the Washington State area, and kind of in the spirit of the Grimsmo brothers, he wanted to design and build a knife using technology. And this is actually Craig's second knife that he's made. The first one was an integral design, and I think the name of that knife was the Parabolic. I didn't get that knife, but I did see the incredibly positive reviews that he had on the knife. So when he introduced his second model, which is this one, and it's called the Servo, I decided to take a leap of faith. Now, as you know, knife collecting is kind of a interesting hobby. A lot of people will buy knives, as I did with this one, kind of sight unseen, based on your opinion of the maker. And I know the Grimsmo brothers had some very big success with the Norseman and Rask, but one of the frustrating parts that I find about knife collecting is when you have a hit, there's so many people that want the knives. If it's something that you want, a lot of times you can't get them. So in general, this is another, I broke my rules and decided to buy a knife that I'd never seen and felt. So this was something that could have, or was a pretty big risk and could have turned out badly if I didn't like the knife. But I really do like this knife. And the knife you're looking at is called a Servo. The blade steel is RWL 34. The handle material is titanium. Of course, it has some Timascus inlays, Timascus backspacer, and pocket clip. And this happens to be number 4. I actually signed up for the pre-order, and I was very pleasantly surprised as these were done on CNC how quickly he was able to produce the knives. So he said 3 to 4 weeks. I think I got it in about he said 3 to 4 months, and I think I got it in about 3 to 4 weeks. So, when's the last time for you knife guys out there were you pleasantly surprised on the delivery times of a knife? Just a quick comparison here, just so you understand. It's a fairly big knife, and there's that one. Let's get a PM2 in there, since everyone on YouTube likes to compare it to a PM2. But since this is my channel, let's compare it to a Praetorian tie. So you can see it's a pretty big knife, pretty long knife. And I apologize, I don't have the weight, but it's very, very light. But you can see how thin it is. So I have carried this knife, very easy to carry. Really a fantastic pocket clip. A lot of, and it just kind of, having carried the Medfords, it just slips right into your pocket, takes up almost no space at all. It is a little bit long, as you can see. Here's the folded PM2, so it's going to be a full-size knife, but as far as thickness goes, it's a pretty thin knife. Probably even thinner than the PM2, and certainly you can see it has a smaller footprint than the PM2. So my impressions of this knife, besides the incredible fit and finish when I first got it, were the finish on the blade. Now, I ordered it to be stone-washed, and this is probably Craig's stone-washed finish. Look how polished this is. You can see the camera and the stand there. Incredible polish after the stone wash. And an incredible bead blast. So, for a guy who hasn't made knives before, his finish turned out really, really well. Very unique. Different than a lot of the other finishes. I kind of expected it to be very similar to a Sebenza. It really has a unique finish to it. So I was very pleasantly surprised at the fit and finish. I was very pleasantly surprised at the overall look of the knife, and I think it delivers some aspects that I haven't seen in knives before, which is kind of what I was looking for when I ordered this. You can see here, it's a full flat grind. Very similar to the Grimsmos that are CNC'd and not ground. There's no sharpening or finger choil. That's something that I do not like about it. But it's got a very unique look to it. Just having a very clean, no marks on the blade, and a very sterile look. So, it's not the thinnest, but in my collection and my use, this is going to be a pretty good slicer. This is pretty thin behind the edge here, so when I use it and for my purposes, it'll cut decently well. The finish is going to be a point of contention as you use the knife. Obviously, that beautiful mirror polish will probably get scratched up a little bit. I've actually never seen such a combination of a mirror. It's not totally mirror polished, of course, but like a mirror-like polish with the stone wash. So that was a pretty interesting combination. So we'll see how that holds up over time. Now, this knife did not come with the best edge from Craig. There's positives to that as well. So as far as the sharpness goes, I'd put it middle to lower third of the pack. Just some knives, Les George, when he sends me knives, they are screaming sharp. Just certain companies put incredible edges on their knives. And that's probably for a safety reason, because when I got this knife, you can see how small the flipper tab is. So when you go to unlock it, you're not going to catch that. You can see my thumb there. So one of the first things I did with this knife is I used it in my left hand and I swung it closed, and it kind of tapped me, not too hard, but tapped me on my thumb there, and gave me a little cut. So this knife said hello to me very, very quickly. And if I can kind of explain, it doesn't catch there, number one, and it is so loose. This is one of the loosest pivot knives I've ever had. Just a little bit of momentum will send this thing flying. And I'll see if I can demonstrate it. It's horizontal right now, so there's no gravity. And you can see I just barely tapped it, and it's flying back. So try that again. Just give it a little tap, and it just flies back. So you can see if you have a finger there, it's kind of in the way. So you have to be very careful, especially when holding it in the horizontal, because check it out, the horizontal. It's vertical now. Horizontal. It just literally closes on itself. There's nothing, and it's not even. It's just so fast. It's just like a guillotine. So, this knife definitely you have to treat with respect, especially like I said when you're coming away from Medfords, which these ain't gonna go anywhere. This is now in the vertical. I mean, so this one is not really gonna cut you, and you really have to make a conscious effort to push the knife blade back into the handle. This one, let's see if we can do it here. Oh. I mean, you can just do it with one hand easily, just by rotating your hand down and rotating it back. You see, I'm not even using another hand, and I don't even have to use a finger to do it. I just move my wrist, and the knife blade just drops right into place here. You see that? So if you like that sort of thing, and I know that's a big thing right now, this is a really, really neat knife. I mean, you could play with this for hours. Now, my guess is if you get distracted and you continue to play with it, it'll tap you at one point. So, without the sharpening choil and just with how free this pivot is and how free the blade swings, I don't know if I'm going to put it on the wicked edge, but if I do carry this around and do get to really enjoying this knife, I might give it a wicked edge because I do like screaming blades on my knife. That being said, I'm going to put a big fingerprint on here, and you can see that there. I'm really trying to work this knife. It's rock solid as far as the lock goes. No wiggle at all. So it being so free, you'd wonder how mechanically sound it is, and I can just tell you from my feel, I haven't done any hard use with it. It's got rock solid lockup, and the release is extremely easy. So you can play with this for hours and hours. You can see right there, and you're not going to get the wear and tear in your thumb like the Medfords and a lot of the other knives have done to my thumb over time breaking them in. This knife came out of the box completely broken in, ready to rock and roll. Very small learning curve. The only thing you have to concentrate on is, most knives have bigger tabs. So at first, when you're getting to know it, you just got to make sure your finger's right there, because if it's out of place, you're not going to get the leverage you need. But, as long as You put your finger right there, it's going to flip every time, and it's actually a pretty easy flipper. And with so little resistance, all you got to do is just give it a little flick, and it comes right out. You're not going to misfire this one unless you slip off of the lock tab. But if you do engage right here and get good purchase, that the blade's going to come out every single time. Okay. So just one more last look at the beautiful Damascus that he inlaid in there. Like I said, he put it in with glue. I thought that was pretty original. The Damascus back spacer and the beautiful Damascus pocket clip. And there is his logo right there. Without all of the extras, this is a $550 knife. Now I know that's pretty expensive, but in the custom knife world, it's actually not. So if you're looking for a knife that is from a maker who's very approachable, I actually emailed his wife. She runs his books, and he actually reached out. I had some questions about the knife, and he actually reached out and called me, and we talked about a few things. If you're interested in that sort of thing, this is a really neat company to work with. Obviously, they're really trying to grow their business and get off the ground. But they seem pretty down to earth, and they're willing to take suggestions and kind of go above and beyond for you. So my experience with Craig Brown and Brown Knives has been absolutely positive. I will continue to keep you guys posted as far as how this knife holds up. I do intend to use this and carry this knife, and my expectation is that it's going to be a pretty neat knife to carry, and it'll be entertaining, and it should mechanically hold up. I do think I probably will cut myself with the incredible freeness of the blade, but I guess that's where things are going these days. But I will be careful. So thank you so much for watching this video. I plan to do a couple other videos over the next few weeks, and I appreciate the support on the channel. Thanks. Bye.